No, I think he's one of those generational young phenoms that we only see every now and then, Ben. Jesse Love, he's just blossomed his way through the ranks, skipping the Truck Series and just going right to the meat and potatoes of the Xfinity Series. Has put up 6 top tens already this year, 3 top fives, 3 poles, and places that he should have won came awfully close, as you can see there through what he's already done in 2024. He's with Richard Childress Racing in the Xfinity Series. We know they're the teams to beat on tracks like this. And Austin Hill, of course, getting the pole for Talladega this weekend, had every chance for. I think he did get the pole. Yeah, he had every chance of in the weekend here. But yeah, both of them very great at super speedways. But Jesse Love, he's going to be there in the championship for sure. And in the same way we see Ty Gibbs in the Cup Series, just on the cusp of that victory, Jesse Love is in the same camp, and here he is finally getting it done.
And we now have the results here for you. So as you can see, Jesse Love took the win. Riley Herbst finishing second, another strong run for him, and great to see him continue to take those steps forward. I think once he finally broke through at Las Vegas last year, really knocked the door down and has enabled him to get that weight off his shoulders, and great to see him putting in a lot of strong runs. Anthony Alfredo, great run for him in third place. We'll talk about him a little bit more in just a minute here, but you see a lot of names that you're less likely to see on tracks where equipment matters a little bit more. Obviously, if you can work the draft at Talladega, it really is a great opportunity for some of these smaller teams. I heard Tommy Joe Martins on my drive home on Dave Moody's Sirius XM Speedway show talking about the importance of these races for teams like Alpha Prime, and the importance of being able to pick up those stage points throughout the race, and maximizing these opportunities, because especially in Xfinity with how short the stages are, it's a lot tougher for those small teams to try to work their strategy and pick up those points here and there. But you certainly have a chance to do that on these super speedways. And again, Leland Honeyman up there in fourth, Brennan Poole driving that throwback car to the race that I think a lot of people think he should have won, and did win technically if you go by who crossed the finish line first. But unfortunately for him, they threw the yellow before they got to the start-finish line. Elliott Sadler ended up taking that win instead in 2016. Thought for a second that he might have a shot at redemption, was leading in the tri-oval. Anthony Alfredo was right behind him, but instead of giving Brennan Poole that help, he decided to pull out, try to maximize his race finish, and ultimately he did with a third-place run. Poole fell all the way back to fifth. Just goes to show how quickly things can change on these super speedways, and the placement of the start-finish line at Talladega in particular. But, Brandon, obviously Anthony Alfredo is running his race, trying to, pick up the best result he can. But I think a lot of people were saying, you wish these small teams could try to work together a little bit more in opportunities like this, and try to make sure at least one of them takes the fight to the top teams like RCR with Jesse Love and Stuart Haas with Riley Herbst. Should Anthony Alfredo have helped Brennan Poole in the tri-oval, or do you see that as kind of a team order sort of situation? You would rather see everybody race every man for himself?
In theory, I would like Fast Pasta to be, like you say, help out some of the little men, kind of pull together and try to take down the top dog, for sure. But again, we go back to just the mentality of these drivers, and kind of what the kind of emotions, the heart racing, being up there in the front with like guys like Leland Honeyman, Brennan Poole, Anthony Alfredo. We know just as well as that they're never up there. They never have this chance to be this close to the cusp of a victory. And here they are, just several feet away from the checkered flag. They're not thinking too much maybe about, wise decisions. It's more just about there's open space. I need to take it, or I'm never going to get it again. But, from our perspective, looking outside the car, yes, it looks like if Anthony Alfredo would have stayed behind Brennan Poole there, they would have made a good way there, a good heading on the outside lane, and maybe would have, since they were just before the Geico restart zone, where Anthony Alfredo decided to jump out to make a third lane, they would have had just enough time to maybe even get close to competing against, almost said Sheldon Creed, against Jesse Love. How time flies. But also looking at the replay several times, I started thinking, well, would it even make much of a difference if they started. I mean, we don't know what kind of momentum they would have built up had they started drafting off each other. But I mean, that you can play the game of what ifs all day. Really, in hindsight, yes, he should have helped out someone else in order to get up there, at least for a fighting chance. Because by dipping out like that in the third lane, you have zero chance, and that's what we saw.
That was the radioactive clip from Kyle Busch of a 2017 Clash that went viral, started circulating again after that finish. I saw some people referencing it and basically saying, and I'm going to keep it PG rated. I won't use the same language that Kyle used on the radio after that race, but he was frustrated that Bowman pulled out and tried to pass him for that position rather than the two of them hooking up together and trying to go, go for the win. And he basically said, look, if you work together in the draft, maybe we get a run and then you have a shot to pull out and win the race. If you pull out before the start finish line, we both stall out, we lose our momentum. The guy in first wins the race anyway. So you destroy your chance to win the race if you do that. So, again, you can play the what if game and, you can wonder, how much momentum would they really have had? It's very much possible, I suppose, that Jesse Love would have won that race anyway. But, again, I bet you Brennan Poole was feeling frustrated. I could sense the frustration from Joey Logano in the booth. If you turn the volume all the way up, you can kind of hear him go like, oh, man. Like he was really hoping that some of these smaller teams could, link up and try to, beat the two car across the finish line. But ultimately, it just wasn't meant to be. But I certainly hope because, again, it's very, very frustrating sometimes the way these finishes play out. And I am grateful at least for NASCAR, with the wreck happening in the trial that they let the Cup Series race finish under green on Sunday yesterday, because I think that of course, if a wreck happens in turn 1 or 2 and it's serious enough, or you have a fireball like we had at the 2021 Daytona 500, then obviously you have to throw the yellow right away. But if it's something going on in the tri-oval when the cars are literally a matter of 100 feet or even 100 yards away from the start finish line, I don't really know how much is accomplished by turning caution light on and freezing the field, because in the time it takes you to make that decision, they've traveled another 100 feet anyway. And, they're even closer to the start finish line. So I'm glad they let them finish that race yesterday and didn't have the same issue that we had when Brennan Poole was going for that win in the Ganassi car so many years ago. So hopefully they can find another opportunity to make another run again and, try to avenge that loss. But I really thought he had it there in the trial coming to start finish line, but Fredo, of course, pulled out, and that was pretty much the race right there.
Yeah, what could have been. And then Alfredo makes a 4-wide scenario there with Honeyman on the bottom. And I felt bad for Joey Gase because he just got yeeted there on the inside and wasn't even able to be up there in contention at all. I think he drifted all the way down to 18th.